Good evening, Matt here from theshavingcadre.com. This is a follow-up video that I did on honing a Filarmonica 13 on a Naniwa Superstone 1K 5K, and then a finish on a Black Arkansas using Jnats. I shave at the edge. I actually posted that in a video as a partial shave. The shave was good, but I think that we can get a little bit more out of the stone. So I'm gonna go ahead and put to practice what my buddy Mike told me to do, was to make a trace slurry. So that's what I'm gonna do tonight. I'm gonna put a trace slurry on my Arkansas stone. So not a thick slurry as the final finish. So I think I'll do a trace, and then I may do another trace depending on how the water is flowing up the blade with the undercut, but let's see how it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and tilt the camera down, and I will start making my slurry. I think I'm just starting to see something, and so I think I will go ahead and stop with that right there, because I am starting to see just a little bit of slurry there. So we'll give it a try with what I have. Now, you'll notice I've got my stone in a razor or in a stone holder, and then below that I have a Corona bar mat. I use this out in my shop a lot during restorations, and I just kind of had a revelation the other night that obviously I should be using it whenever I'm honing at the kitchen table, so I'm not goofing around with having water go everywhere, and I don't have to put a old shirt underneath it or anything like that. So anyway, that's what we're using tonight. And actually, it's a whole lot cheaper than using a razor bath. I think that's what they call them, those basins that you can buy. Rather, it's a honer's bath. So it's a basin you buy that you put underneath your stones so you can just soak it and not have to worry about the consequences of the water going everywhere. But this works just the same way, actually, exactly the same way. It's held up, and it's made out of rubber, so I don't have to worry about anything moving. Now, I am noticing that the stone is, like I mentioned last time, very grabby on the blade. It's really going slow. It is starting to do a little bit of an undercut. And I'm not really feeling that trace slurry hardly at all. But the razor is really struggling to go across the stone. And I'm using very, very little pressure. I had a pretty busy weekend going to shops for tax-free weekend and taking the boy to the hardware store and doing some shopping with him, and then I managed to do a couple razor restorations in the middle too. I ended up getting a Red Imp 133 made by Case restored. Not my finest blade restoration, but I made a set of scales for it out of pearl red kieranite, and I think they just turned out just amazing. So I'm really excited about that restoration. I'm looking forward to making more scales coming soon. And then today, or rather last night, I unpinned an SR Droscher number 79 and completely sanded the blade free of the scratches that it was covered in and rust pits. And then I buffed it for what was probably at least an hour on a buffing, on my buffing wheels with 4 different compounds provided to me by my friend Jerry, who's just a fantastic guy. And anyway, that razor turned out really nice. I ended up having to sand a whole lot on the scales, and I had buffed off the blue from the blade tang, so I went ahead and re-blued the tang, sanded and polished the scales, and I think it turned out real nice. So I'll be honing it soon. Trying to make sure it doesn't get too dry on this stone. Starting to see quite a bit more undercut. We don't have as much stone to deal with as some guys. This is just a 2-inch stone, so the larger Black Arkansas or the Jnats, 3-inch Jnats, you'd definitely be able to see a lot more of that water running up on the blade. Really struggling to try and keep this blade on the stone right now because of the chatter. But you can still see that little bit of slurry moving around in there. Like I said, I don't think I could really feel a noticeable amount of slurry whenever I did the trace slurry, hence the naming, trace slurry. But I'm sure it's being broken down. I think I'll probably go for another 25 or 30 laps. As light as I can, just trying to keep the blade. And then I will go for another test shave, either this evening or tomorrow morning if I can. Let me just express, if you're honing for someone, if somebody sends you a blade and says, hey, please, will you hone this up for me? Do yourself a favor, do them a favor. Make sure you shave with the edge before you send it to them. Nothing's more embarrassing than sending out a blade and having somebody say, oh man, I just couldn't shave with it. It was horrible, sorry. So this razor is going to be rehomed to Handle Barber Dave on YouTube, or Barber Dave from the Shaving Cadre. This is his baby. He's been looking for a Filarmonica 13 in great shape for a long time, and I found it for him several months back, and just been taking my time getting to it, and now that I've got it, I'm really hoping to put a very fine edge for Dave on it, and he'll have a full set. I think he has a Filarmonica, I think he has a 12, now he'll have a 13 and a 14. And I think all of his are the Jose Montserrat Puy blades, not any of the older ones. He's got, or rather the newer ones, he's got all the older ones. He has a gorgeous 14. I'd say we're really close to being there. I mean, the blade, just absolutely wants to stop. It's not squeaking yet, but... And if I was going for an Arkansas, Black Arkansas edge purely, I would have sprayed all of this slurry off, and then I would put some honing solution on here, and really taken it a little further. But I believe that it's probably pretty close to a Jnat edge, considering you've got Nagura slurry and this stone, this arc stone. It really is more of a polisher than anything. It's not taking any material off. I mean, really just barely wanting to move. That's not me trying to go slow, that's the blade just grabbing the whole way through. And you know what? Just because I want to try it again, I'm going to throw a little bit more slurry on there, just a tiny bit, and I'll see if I can take it just a hair further. Not much. And then I'll call it for this blade. And I've got a Simmons Hardware Special number 8 that I picked up some time ago. And I'm gonna go ahead and do a bevel set on it. And depending on how I feel, I may also finish with a Jnat edge on the Simmons Hardware tonight too. Or I may save it for next week. And there you go. Adding that slurry in there really took a lot of the chatter from the blade out. It's wanting to move along. And there's really very little slurry in here. I'm not thinking you can really see it. I can barely see it. It's less than the first one. I say doing another 25 to 50 laps, and then we'll call it a day with this one. Smooth as butter. Really slowing down now. And that's 42 laps. It's really not so much about the number. There's 50. It's not so much about the number, it's about the feel. And I mean, this thing absolutely wants to stop. If you can see from the video, it's chattering. And like, I mean, I cannot pull it any harder. I don't want to put any pressure to push it, but the blade is done, I think. All right. So that does it for the Filarmonica 14. I think that we will try to shave test it tonight. Not 100% sure I'm going to have time after I hone this other razor. But I'll definitely put it on video at some point. All right, so Filarmonica 14, double tempe on a trace slurry with an Arkansas Jnat edge. Have a great night, friends.